name's Rekow. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'd like to begin by gratefully acknowledging the numerous Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island, what we call North America, as past, present and future caretakers of these lands. The Wright-Ingraham Institute has its roots in the homelands of the Ute, Cheyenne, Apache and Jicarilla peoples, the areas we call Colorado Springs and Running Creek, Colorado. Although our institute operates remotely, our offices are based in the homelands of the Lenape people on the lands we know as Brooklyn, New York. I also wish to acknowledge the Seminole and Miccosukee tribes who steward the Everglades, where I'm speaking from tonight. And I wish to recognise the ancestral homes and territories of the Ute, Apache, Hopi, Zuni, Dene, and the Pueblos peoples, who are the traditional custodians of the southwestern US, where we're preparing to host the Wright-Ingraham Institute's field stations and StudyTank research programs in 2022. I'd also like to thank the entire Wright-Ingraham Institute team, all of our board members, Kevin Bone, Director of the Field Stations Program, Ariel Milkman, who coordinates the program, our other Field Stations associates who've been working so hard to make this event happen, Megan Ahern, our Communications and Operations Manager, and Elizabeth Thompson, our Development Consultant, and Amos Darmuth, who's running the event tonight. I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and also our panel participants who will be joining us in around 20 minutes. I'm very honoured to have stepped into the role of Executive Director at the Wright-Ingraham Institute at this exciting time as we continue to build knowledge through integrated studies, bridge the legacy of our founder, Elizabeth Wright-Ingraham, and walk into an exciting future together. Not only is this an exciting time to be helping shape the future of the Institute, it's also a transformational time. We continue to build bridges to communities, develop leaders to further the public good, and champion a culture of educational trailblazing and peer-to-peer research. We continue to form alliances with a broad array of public and private institutions and are supporting our partners to help galvanise cultural environmental impact globally. Our board of directors has currently just expanded to welcome 3 new members this September and has also recently confirmed its strategic plan for the upcoming 3 years. The goals laid out in this plan focus on expanding our programming models while we continue to grow our financial resources, which includes an endowment based on ethical investing. So I'd now like you to join with me and Catherine Ingram to toast to the Wright-Ingraham Institute and to launch our fall season events, our speaker series, our field station speaker series.
Cheers, all.
Cheers. Fantastic.
So the work of our institute engages with complex environmental and cultural issues. These inquiries live at the juncture of research, pedagogy, and collaborative exchange. Our goal is to try to better understand and tackle some of the wicked problems and complex entanglements that confront us in the 21st century. We have 3 major programming arms. They include our Field Stations program, directed by Kevin Bone. Field Stations are intensive immersion learning environments, and they resemble a type of living lab, and they explore new futures for vanishing rural landscapes. Our upcoming 2022 program is taking place in the southwestern US, bringing us close to the Institute's Colorado roots. Its aim is to develop a contemporary understanding of some of the critical issues facing the region. Another cornerstone of the Wright-Ingraham Institute is its commitment to grant giving. Since 2012, our grant giving program, directed by board member Anna Grady, has awarded more than $350,000 to 60 mostly small and mid-scale non-profit organisations working across a range of fields to facilitate numerous diverse projects around the world. Our grant giving is inclusive of a broad criteria that aligns with the Wright-Ingraham's vision and mission. Our call for this year is shortly drawing to a close, but if you'd like to apply or check your eligibility, please visit our website. It's not too late. Our organisation also continues to innovate through our peer-to-peer research projects under the umbrella of our emerging StudyTank program led by Catherine Ingram, who will tell us more about this initiative shortly. We also engage in a variety of public programming, such as the speaker series that follows here shortly. As Executive Director, my job is to help support and facilitate these endeavours and more. My professional strengths lie in harnessing resources, building coalitions, and offering services to help people and organisations connect and galvanise to achieve measurable outcomes over time. This means envisioning inspiring ways to structure, design, and assist in developing projects through creative strategising and planning and unique action frameworks. My wide skill set comes from years of experience directing diverse forms of social, environmental, cultural, and creative initiatives and exchanges. Aside from being an experienced executive director, I'm also a published writer, researcher, practitioner, and environmental communication specialist. I have a doctorate in socio-environmental sustainability with a focus on working creatively in areas where people and places are under extreme stress and in a lot of informal contexts. For decades, I've produced work in a variety of networked and place-based contexts across a range of fields and disciplines. I'm flattered and energised to be working with such an amazing group of people here and to be part of the Wright-Ingraham legacy. So I invite you all to join with this energy and commitment to help craft the Wright-Ingraham Institute a brighter future, one that we all want. And I'll now hand this over to Catherine Ingram, President of the Board of Directors, daughter of our founder, Elizabeth Wright-Ingraham, and an extraordinary scholar, architect, and researcher, and author, and critical thinker in her own right. Catherine is a professor of architecture in the Graduate Architecture Program at Pratt Institute in New York, a program she chaired for many years. She's the author of numerous publications, including 2 books, Architecture, Animal, Human, The Asymmetrical Condition, and Architecture and the Burdens of Linearity. She's published over 80 articles, essays, and chapters in journals and book collections on architectural theory and history. Catherine lectures extensively and has been a visiting faculty member at Harvard and Columbia Universities and a number of others. It's my great pleasure to introduce Catherine this evening, who will tell us a little bit about the history of the Institute and about StudyTank, the research program launched earlier this year under her directorship. Over to you, Catherine.
Thank you, Leah. I'm going to make sure my mute is off. Yes. Thank you, Leah, for that nice introduction and especially for becoming our executive director, which we needed desperately, and it's making a huge difference in so many parts of our operations, and it's terrific. This event is one example of what has been brought about with the help of Leah and her team, so it's really fantastic. I'm going to give a brief history of the Institute, which some of you may already know and others may know nothing about, so I'm going to fill in a few of the few of the blanks about the Institute's earlier configuration. The Institute celebrated its 50th anniversary in 2020. We're quite a long way down the road since its founding in the 1970s, when most of us were staff or students under Elizabeth Ingram's tutelage. The 3 images that I'm showing here from that period to recover the spirit of that era and acknowledge it's important in our current thinking about the Institute, just give a very brief picture of how Running Creek Field Station, which is in this first picture and also in the last picture, is, well, actually all of them, was the place for that Institute. And that is no longer the case. Running Creek Field Station was closed, and now we have relaunched the Institute in 2015. But we are now in a different era, and we've been setting forth to address the dilemmas of our time. Our first strategic plan was in 2015, which led us to our second recently completed strategic plan in 2020. This plan landed squarely in the middle of the COVID pandemic, Black Lives Matter movement, unprecedented wildfires in the West, and the run-up to a significant national election. It was nevertheless a relatively calm, principled, and incremental planning process that produced a picture of our collective interests and aspirations. This plan increases our capacity to manage our systems, our programs and projects supported by sound operating systems over the next 3 years. And we even think of it as a 3 to 5 year plan that can be filled out as we go. It sets the stage for the implementation of our work, which concerns, according to our vision and our mission, integrative studies of interfaces between natural and cultural systems. The relationship between natural and cultural systems is, of course, complex, and these things merge into each other. They're not. It's not a bifurcation between the two, and yet we often operate out of the impression that it's distinct. There are distinct differences. While pursuing good governance and funding plans for the Institute are paramount, organization alone will not deliver everything we are going to need to bring our mission to fruition. Developing new modes for these integrative studies in our educational research programs, which we hope to do while running and maintaining continuing to run our grants program. This is not a minor task. Everything must come into play for that to happen. Leadership, diverse and fruitful collaborations and affiliations, good communication, funding, our collective training and intellectual creative talents, supplemented by our coolness of judgment, patience, and the capacity of our curiosity, energy, and outreach to attract others into our midst. In the words of our board of directors, to which we are welcoming 3 excellent new members in September, this September, and very much looking forward to having them join us. In order to begin realizing our goals and ambitions while keeping the innovative and interrogatory forms of expression we want, we need to stay aware of the structural integrity of what we are doing. Our 4-year relaunch of the field station program and the continuation of the grants program are going well. And as I talk about, we'll talk about in a minute, we are now starting a research program to complement both of these programs. These efforts over the last 5 years confirm our intuition that the work ahead for the Institute is both urgent and relevant. We invite you to join us in partnership in the developmental process. And now to shift to a program that I'm currently directing called the StudyTank program. I want to give you a little bit of a description of what that means and is, since it's new. I'm directing it in concert with Frank Miller, who is also on the board, and with Troy Hartley, who is a consultant who has been helping us, a geologist, and has been helping us form the scope of work and so forth. The idea is to create a research arm for the Institute that works on interfaces, those interfaces we're talking about between culture and environments. We think that this may produce many exciting and productive intersections with Institute programs that are currently existing, such as the Field Station program, which is the educational arm, and the grants program, and not to mention diverse research organizations across the globe. StudyTank is focusing initially on water and land systems. Our current project for 2021-22 is organized around the question, what is drought? This is not a new question, of course. There's a tremendous amount of excellent research on drought, particularly in the area that we're going to be looking at, which is the lower basin of the Colorado River. And the entire Midwest is now under unprecedented drought. It's not it's self-evident that drought is the scarcity of water in places that need water, and that it creates serious problems in numerous systems. The immediate problem of water shortages, for example, in agriculture and urban systems, political and juridical problems of water rights that include longstanding tribal rights, disruptions of hydroelectric power systems, the immense unpredictable problems of climate patterns and global economics. But we feel that this question is not 100% answered by the research to date, although it is tremendous research. But we feel it's a slippery question in some sense. For example, having just come through the deluge of water on the East Coast this past week, which was not scarcity but excess of water, not drought but flooding, it seemed that there was an interesting relationship between the two conditions of water that insofar as they upset in massive ways, sort of essential everyday relationships to water. What these relationships are and how they are ordered is a complex addition to the question, what is drought? Turning to some of the integrative studies part of StudyTank and the sort of more formal organization that we're looking at, which is still very preliminary, we decided to pose a question, what is drought, that defines a problem, drought, that we may operate on over time as we develop. The question may develop as well. We are forming 2 3 to 4 person clusters of people from diverse disciplines. We choose a site that brings specificity to the problem. One cluster visits the site, the other cluster researches the question without going to the site, and then we compare notes. Our first cluster of 3 people this year, studying the question that we have posed, what is drought, will be visiting the lower basin. As I said, the Colorado River flows through the Colorado River at the lower basin, flows through Nevada, Arizona, California, and Mexico. California and Mexico, small, very small. Nevada, very small. Arizona, huge. From Hoover Dam to the Salton Sea with multiple branches, the river supports acres of farming, small towns and large cities, recreational areas, tribal reservations, and more. All of these are now in jeopardy as the stored water in Glen Canyon Dam and Hoover Dam drops lower and lower. The results of StudyTank's trip to this site, the metrics and data, observations and encounters, and close attention to how disciplinary differences create specific narratives, will be compared with the second cluster of 3 people, also from different disciplines, who will not take the trip but are asked to research the same site from their disciplinary standpoints. In this way, we will begin to produce an expanded field of on-site information and off-site theoretical knowledge about drought. Expansion is good, but it's not enough. And when I say expansion, I think it refers to not just the amount of information, but the diversity of points of view. And that is what we're beginning to sort of wonder how to organize. Our field station program, which exposes the field station program run by Kevin Bone, which exposes students to diverse points of view about a specific place, asks the student to be the integrator. This is a rich and exciting pedagogical model. StudyTank's approach, which we see as complementary to the field stations program, but different, is to ask the researchers, the experts, the professors, so to speak, to act as the integrators. We are interested in creating an integrated conceptual framework that asks scientists, tribal leaders, legal theorists, hydrologists, and so forth to learn enough about each other's fields of expertise, experience, and knowledge to move toward new combinations of ideas and new definitions of, say, scarcity and excess, drought, and flooding that will ignite seminal shifts in our thinking about these interfaces between water and cultural systems and lead to new solutions to problems in these systems. Some of those solutions might engage with or bear on what is already happening in the shift from fossil fuels to solar and wind energy, or on the future political influence of tribal communities, or on United States food production systems and agricultural labor systems. Others might consist of understanding the subjective character of drought. When a river that nobody needs water, when the water in a river that nobody needs runs dry, there is no drought, only cyclical adaptations or the emergence of new land. The question may then become, how might cyclical adaptations or the possibility of new land now be incorporated into our use of water in the future? The dams were our first modern take on adapting to wet and dry years. But what now? Thank you.
Wow, thanks so much, Catherine. It's really wonderful to hear you speak about StudyTank. That's the first time I believe you've spoken publicly about it. So it's just terrific to hear. So please stay with us as we launch the first of our four field station speaker series events organised under the directorship of Kevin Bone, who is an accomplished architect, author, and former president of the Wright-Ingraham Institute Board himself, and a Running Creek alumnus. Please check in with us each month to learn more about our institute and our programs. As I mentioned earlier, we're still accepting applications for our grants programs. I also invite you to view or contribute to our photo galleries, old and new. Consider applying to next year's upcoming Field Stations program. Contemplate giving us a donation to help us build capacity for our programming, or simply check out our website to learn more about what we do. And of course, please continue to join us for this monthly speaker series event. Next month, our panel discusses creativity at the nexus of environmental practice. I'll shortly hand you over to Kevin Bone, Director of our Field Stations program, after a short break on the same link in just a few minutes at 6 p.m. Eastern for a panel on the topic of environmental education. Thank you.